Today's September 15th. The Bucs avoid a sweep with a win on Clemente Day. We're going to talk some catchers today. And we're winding down here, guys. Just 13 games left. You're listening to the Bridge to Buctober podcast. Yins, guys. Thank you for listening to the Bridge to Buctober podcast, where we talk all about them Pittsburgh Pirates and that. My name is Josh, and I'm joined, as always, by my brother Jake. What's up, Jake?
What's going on, man?
It's not that often that you head into town with a few things and just say, we're going to take these three things back to three different places. And I know these days you don't have to really come up with a story like you used to. But I was surprised at how easy everything went. I got a pair of shoes in the mail. And same size I order all the time. Too big. Way too big. Not even close. They had to be a bad pair of shoes. They put the wrong size on the tongue or something.
Yeah.
And we threw them in the car and we were like, I don't know if we can even take these back. I got them online. So we called the outlet mall, New Balance. Because, And they're like, yeah, we can take them back. And it was I don't have to wait for anything. We gave it to them and I had the money back by a couple of hours after. I didn't have to wait for them to receive anything in the mail. So smooth. All right, cool. We head in, Target. I didn't have a receipt. I'm thinking there's no way. Didn't even look in the box to make sure it was in there, Jake. I just scanned it and she was like, oh yeah, it's this number. Yeah, it's that number. It's on the card. What? That was easy. And we go into Best Buy, which is the only one that I thought would be, because I know their return policy. And I was and they said, it was a GoPro. Anything wrong with it? Nope. We just pre-ordered the one that came out right after I bought this one. So everything was really easy. That just never happens.
Right.
And then I bought new shoes while I was in there too, because it was at the outlet mall. I got the O'Neill Cruises. They're not the O'Neill Cruises, but the shoe is called Cruise. I've been wearing the same shoes since I think 2020 when I bought them. And my black ones are just worn down. I have a gray pair that I still wear. But these black ones are just worn down. And I go into the outlet. And they don't have them on their site anymore. But, And I got new Cruises. So I call them the O'Neill Cruises.
Sure. Why not?
You have to. So I got brand new shoes. And Katie was able to get a pair for 50% off. Because it's an outlet mall. And there's deals.
Yeah.
It's a win.
It's a win. All around.
All the way around. That was Friday night. Pirates did not get a win Friday night.
They did not. Was Friday night they got smoked, right?
Yeah, it was Luis Ortiz's outing.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was rough.
No bueno.
No bueno. Well, we'll talk about those games a little bit. We're going to talk a little bit about catching as we've been going through, we started. We started on the last show, right? We haven't been going, right? We're going to take a position and we're going to go through and we're going to take a look at where we are now so that when we get to the offseason, we can project forward more. So just to look at where we are now. More than looking at what the options are, really, we want to focus on what we have. We don't know what we want until we know what we have, is my point.
Yes.
I don't know. And then just a few other things. I think just a good chat tonight. Hopefully we get some people popping in the chat here to give us some laughs or whatever. I don't know.
Keep us going.
Keep us going a little bit. Cause hey, you get a win. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You get a win. And Pirates fans who are also Steelers fans, look at you. Look at you. 2-0. Who would have thought? I know. I know.
Who'd have thunk it?
Yeah. Well, listen, why is there only one touchdown in 2 games? This isn't a football pod, and I'm not going to pretend to even go there. But like, isn't he good or is he not?
I thought he was. I don't know if they're using him wrong. Like,
was he
no
good
idea.
in Chicago?
I mean, he ran a lot. He couldn't be good in Chicago. Nobody's good in Chicago.
That's a good point.
As a quarterback.
That's a good point. I don't get it. I'm wondering if maybe the problem isn't the quarterbacks there.
He got them to the playoffs. I think 1 year. Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, he was good in Ohio State.
Mm-hmm.
But, of course, he's loaded with... Did he have Olave when he was there? Olave had a couple catches in that blowout today.
Yeah.
Saints play. The Cowboys didn't stop him for their first 7 possessions? Wild.
Well, they scored 50-something points last week.
Yeah, they're...
The Saints.
Yeah. Carr's a machine right now.
Mm-hmm.
How about the Pitt WVU game? Tell me you saw some of that.
I saw none of it. I saw no college football this weekend except
oh my gosh.
the end of the Georgia game because I was watching the UFC fights and I just happened to notice.
Yeah, I watched the end of that too. Georgia almost coughed it up.
Mm-hmm.
This is a football pod now, guys.
Ain't nobody listening to the baseball pod, so ain't nobody joining us.
No, the Pitt game was fun. It was exciting. I watched it too. I had like 4 games on my TV on like the square, where you get like 4. But, yeah, that was cool. There was a clear offensive pass interference call that was a touchdown. Like it was really like he grabbed his face mask, threw him down and one-handed it, and the announcer's just like, "What a one-handed catch!" I'm like, "Why was his other hand not there? Why don't you talk about that?"
Yeah.
Anyway,
it's wild.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't get to watch any college. I had to work, and I was just like, it sucked.
Well, work's not bad.
No, I
you
work.
Get paid for it.
Yeah, I actually got paid to sit at the Shuckers Field for a little bit.
There you go.
Because they renamed the park from MGM to Keesler Federal. I went to the ribbon cutting ceremony hoping to do some stuff for work and rub some elbows, but very unsuccessful.
There you go. All right. Hey, it's funny. We just talked about starting pitching and how we liked where we were and all of that last week. And then this week going into the series, I actually looked at the Royals, and I know we talked about with 16 games left, we said we kind of spelled it out, right? I don't know if we did on here, but when you and I were talking, it was like, well, you can go 1-2 against the Royals. You can go 2-2 against the Cardinals if you can take. You can go 2-1 against the Reds. This was my plan, right? Mm-hmm. And then you have to take a series from either the Brewers or the Yankees or the Royals. Just take one of those. Beat the Reds, go 2-2 against the Cardinals, or take 3 or 4 from the Cardinals. And hey, Sharon's here. Thanks. Or take 3 or 4 against the Cardinals and lose those 3 series as one, by 2-1. Yeah. So that was kind of the
roadmap.
That was the roadmap. Now we're going into St. Louis. We can find out what we need to do here. If you can take 3 or 4, which is, on the road, extremely difficult, especially when you got a TBD going. We don't know. So, you take a look at all that and it doesn't look like, or it doesn't look all that bad saying, well, we dropped this series, except for the fact that, Jake, I actually kind of thought that this was a winnable series. And the reason I thought is because you're missing Lugo, who's been unreal this year. You're missing Cole Ragans, who's been really good. And so, sure, you have 3, but the problem is, I said, if you can win one of the Keller game or the Jones game. I thought Friday night was the game they should have won. With Ortiz going up against Marsh, the only guy in either staff, well, I guess Falter has a over 4 ERA as well, but the only guy on either staff, him and Falter are the only two that have an ERA over 4. So you thought, that's the game we should take.
Yeah.
And then Ortiz came out and basically gave us no shot. You know what I'm saying? And so I felt like that was like, after that happened, I was like, crap. But at the same time, you still thought, well, we can get one of the Keller game or the Jones game. Right? You still felt like you could get it. OG, what's up? Matt, what's up? In the chat here. The thing is, Jake, is that none of the 3 starters were really that good.
Yeah, I remember Friday. I didn't see the first couple of updates on my phone, and then all of a sudden I'm like, it's 6-0. What are we doing?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, 4 of them earned, but 7 total runs against Ortiz. 6 runs all in the second inning. And it just felt like it was kind of compiling, right? And it felt like it was over. And I even said, like, it's the 6-run second inning, but like it was the top of the inning. So you had 8 innings still. Just start chipping away.
Yeah.
And it's against the pitcher that you should have been able to do it, Marsh ended up going 5 1/3, 5 hits, a run, 2 walks, 11 Ks. And lowered his ERA to 4.52. Like, that's a guy we should have been able to chip away at.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? OG says Friday was one horrible inning, and really they were there otherwise. Right. They just ended up still 5 runs down because of that one inning. And I just thought you had the opportunity. You out-hit the Royals in the game, right? And so you had the opportunity to do that. Yeah, Shared, I'm glad you said this, Shared. Shared in the chat says, Ortiz got unearned runs on his error. Jake knows exactly where I'm going with this.
Yep.
If a pitcher makes an error, it should be an earned run. He's literally the guy who made the error. He has to earn it. You have to field your position. He's got
So
4.
does everybody else.
He's got 4. Yeah, but it's not on you. You're talking about the individual.
But it wasn't on the pitch. It was
I
on the
don't
fielding.
care. You got to do the whole thing. You are responsible. You're
you can't
responsible for those runs.
No.
we will forever disagree on this,
Yeah.
but I like to get my point across every time. And Jake's obviously right because that's the rule. So,
Well, it's not even never mind.
well, but it
we'll
is
get
though,
way
right?
off
The
track.
rule is
the
there
rule.
because it makes sense. But like
Yeah.
I'm saying, I'm over here just advocating that it doesn't matter, but it is. It's still your fault. It's not like you can blame anyone but you.
Right.
So
Right.
it's almost like, well, why don't you just give up an error every inning and you could have a 0 ERA?
They'd have to hit the ball to you. Every
Right.
single
Yeah.
inning.
You'd have to get the ball hit to you and then just throw it away. And then everything is
all my-
unearned. If there's, I didn't think that through when I said it. I just started down a path. You know what I mean? I did not think that through. It'd have to be 2 outs. It'd have to be the whole thing. So yeah, it's not going to work that way, but you could lower your ERA. You could just also get the out, right? And then finish
Right.
the inning. And
and you're fine.
right. You're just sabotaging your team at that point.
Yeah.
So anyway, he does have 4 errors though. And we know when we talked about all the Cruz errors, he had that one throw to Cruz that really could have been ruled an error on Ortiz too.
Yeah.
Probably not probably couldn't have been, but he caused it by throwing it over. I mean,
It probably would have been a throwing error if IKF was out there.
yeah. Yeah, exactly. Shared said his fielding percentage goes down instead of his ERA. And I think of course they are, because anytime a pitcher is getting the ball hit to him, it's almost impossible to make a fielding error. Because it's either hit hard enough that they'll never give you an error on it, or it's the easiest ball to field ever. Like, what are you going to get an error on fielding? Like a pop-up maybe? Why the heck isn't an infielder saying, get out of my way?
Right.
So, like, I was going to say they're all throwing errors, but of course they're all throwing errors. You know what I mean? All right. So anyway, I think they are anyway. I guess it says throw. But I'm pretty sure.
I mean, if they hit a comebacker to you and it's like a 4-hopper or whatever, it's just a dribbler and you just muff it.
It just feels impossible to do that. It has to be hit so easy. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what kind of a ball hit to you that's not like almost a bare hand. Even if it's like if you're running to your right on like a bunt even and you misplay it and fall down, they're just going to give the guy a hit.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. Like, you're almost never going to get a fielding error. I don't know. Anyway, really doesn't matter, but really doesn't. So anyway, yeah, one bad inning, and otherwise Ortiz, I mean, I'm not saying Ortiz is now a terrible pitcher, like he had a bad inning, right?
Right.
And you just would have expected, if you have a bad inning in the second inning, man, if the offense can just come through and chip away, and they weren't able to do it. They weren't able to do it.
No, instead they struck out 11 times.
Yeah. Yeah. Then
that's just against the starter.
Right. Oh,
how many strikeouts they end up with in the whole game?
14 in the whole game. So.
Okay, so just pitched the game of his life, I guess. Think
I'm
about
gonna
it.
Check him out. Yeah,
if he struck out 11 in 5 innings and some change, what was it, 5.2?
Well, we know how this offense likes to strike out anyway.
Yeah, but 11 times in the first 5 innings, then only 3?
Yeah, he hasn't had, prior to that game, he had struck out 8 twice. And that was in 6 innings and 5 innings. So he had struck out 8 twice. And in this one, 11 and 5 1/3.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could tip your cap and be like, hey, man, your stuff was nasty today.
Right.
I don't know. Because if they only struck out 3 times against the relievers, that's not horrible.
Yeah. But their relievers had a big lead. We're probably pitching a contact anyway.
True.
So Pit City What says keep fielding separate from pitching. I am probably like one of 3 people in the world who thinks that it should count that way. Okay. I understand that. I'll make it heard. I'll make it known, but it's not something I'm going to like really fight anybody on because I understand that I'm in the minority of that argument. Yeah, I was just trying to look. He's got 200 strikeouts in 195 innings. That's for his career. He has this year. He has 116 strikeouts in 121 innings, and they struck out 11 times. Can we move on to Saturday? This is bad. That was a bad game. That's a game that you should have been able to win. After that, you're thinking, oh, you know what I mean? At that point, you're like, what are we going to do against Michael Wacha? Well, the answer is not much. Or nothing. No, they did get a run off Michael Wacha. But not much. You're right. And Mitch Keller, again, 6 innings, gives up 4 runs, 3 of them earned.
Here you go, Josh.
What? Here we go. Brault said the same thing on the postgame, Josh. He agrees with you. My guy. My guy. I like him. You know why? Because he's a pitcher who said, I can hit and I can field.
Yeah.
And you know what I'm saying? He was an athlete. He tried to do it all.
Yeah.
He could hit for a pitcher, by the way.
There's
a condition. Right. But still, the point is he's saying it's a total thing.
Yeah. No, I totally get what you guys are, what you're saying. It's just, it's a different entity.
Yeah, I guess to me, it's the earned runs versus runs. is I think the only thing is that the narrative goes, if you're a box score guy, right? And you go by and you say, Mitch Keller gives up 4 runs, 3 of them earned. So really that other run isn't his fault. You know what I mean? And then if all you do is look up and say like, oh, well, I mean, in this case, Mitch Keller didn't make an error, but you'd be like, oh, he would have given up 3 had it not been for somebody else and their error, right? Now, granted, you could say all you want about, well, yeah, but if so-and-so wouldn't have made a diving catch, he'd have gave up 5. You know what I mean? So like that's what pokes holes in it all the way, but it's the errors. It's the ones you are supposed to play. But yeah, it's just one of those things where it's like, no, that was Ortiz's fault. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's just not his fault as far as pitching.
It wasn't his. Right.
Right. So that's the only reason that makes me say that is that because you say like, well, 2 of those weren't his fault. You know what I mean? I'm just trying to avoid saying that.
Yeah.
OG says Brault made some really sharp plays fielding his position. He really did. Him and Musgrove, man, Musgrove's awesome at fielding the ball too. So, but yeah. So anyway, Mitch Keller, like I said, 6 innings, 3 runs. He gave up the homer. This game was really a lot about Bobby Witt, right? Where's the RBIs? He had 3 RBIs in this game, which is enough. I will say this. The Royals really aren't much different. I'm probably going to catch a lot of flack for this, but they're not much different than the Pirates. When you really look at their roster and you see, oh, they've got 4 guys in the lineup that are over 100 OPS plus. That's all the Royals have too. You know what I mean? You got that Garcia running all around the bases. He's got a 75 OPS plus right now. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's not a good hitter.
Yeah.
And so, like, all the way around, you've got all your starters. You got 1 guy with a +4 ERA. The rest of the guys are good. That's what we have, except they don't have a Skeens. Right? They don't. Lugo's not that good. I forget where Lugo's at, but I believe he's in the 3s. So, like, they've got some good pitching. It's down there. But, like, he's not that.
Right.
You know, not to mention, like, it took Lugo some years. Like, this is a great year for him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But, like, when you look at it pound for pound, it's like, yeah. The problem is that, like, Brian Reynolds is kind of like Sal Perez. When you just look at offensive production, like, their OPS plus is right around the same number, right? And then all of a sudden, they have Bobby Witt Jr. with a 171 OPS plus. And you're like, so it's take one of those guys out and just put in Bobby Witt Jr. Leave the rest of our lineup there. Leave all our good hitters there.
Right.
And then plug in Bobby Witt Jr. Like, it's a huge difference.
Yeah. And
a guy like that, that's what it can do to your team. It can just elevate it. I mean, he's got a 9.1 WAR, baseball reference WAR. I don't know what is in Fangraphs, but
dude, he's a stud.
Like, that's nuts. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, Kutch never had a 9.1.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, like, the dude's very, very, very special. And we knew he always would be. Like, this is a guy that, you know, this was always that guy. It is Paul Skeens with the expectation and the pedigree and the like the stud meter. It's that high for Bobby Witt Jr. on the offensive side. So it's just that's the big difference between the two teams. It really is.
Yeah.
Their bullpen's probably better this year than ours is too. So I mean, there's a lot of swing wins wise, right? So
yeah.
And like Pasquantino's not that he's on the injured list right now. If he's in the lineup, it looks a little bit different. I'd favor the Royals a little bit more, right? But we're looking at I just mean for this weekend. You know what I mean? That's all.
Yep.
So I thought that they had a chance this weekend, and I think they blew it Friday. That's all. You with me there?
This is fine.
This is fine.
Yes,
Saturday, Keller's game, a little bit different. I guess it's probably worth talking about some plays by O'Neal Cruz in center field. Got a little bit of flack there. I think we understand, first off, that Hang on a second. Who's Pac-Man? I don't think I know, but Matt says Pac-Man's got the Bucs number from day one. So.
Oh, Michael Waka.
Oh, is his name Pac-Man?
Waka.
Oh, wow. I don't think I've ever heard that.
I've never heard it. I just, taking a guess, and he was good.
And he has had the Pirates number for a very long time.
There it is, Waka.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm looking. But that's not like an actual nickname. Like, Matt, did you just come up with that? Or is that... I love it. I absolutely love it. It's not on his baseball reference page. So, Whack-A-Mole is, though, as a nickname. That's a good nickname. Anyway, yeah, we understood going into the rest of the season with O'Neal Cruz that we're going to see some of this. We know the two plays. You and I said, okay, there was two plays before we hit record. Do you want to break them down a little bit? I'll have video for the viewers or anything. I don't have anything, right? But
so the first one was it was Frazier, right? Frazier was leading off the inning.
Yeah.
Hit a line drive, and it's one of them plays as center fielder, right? A line drive is tough to read. Takes a step back, tries to make up for it, tries to dive, gets past him. He just couldn't get to it, gets past him. Frazier ends up with a triple. Now, I was reading a little thing on it, and it's like it was the fifth inning.
I don't remember. That sounds right.
It was the fifth inning. I think it was the fifth inning. And, no outs. Like, to lead off the inning, like, that's almost an automatic run.
Right. And you're down 1-0 at the time.
Yeah. So I'm not okay with that. Like, I'm okay with it right now because it's O'Neal Cruz and we just understand what we're getting right now. So yeah. I'm okay with it because he makes that mistake now. It's not like we're in a playoff race anymore. Make the mistake now and learn from it now.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you don't do that next year. You learn from that. We move forward. We're good. But you just can't do that with no outs.
Right.
I'll take it all day. Not all day long, but I'll take that mistake.
Well, because
I'll take that mistake if there's two outs.
You'll take that risk.
Yeah.
You'd rather, yep. It's the risk you're taking diving for a ball like that. If it gets by you, what is going to happen, right? If you've got two outs and he ends up getting to third on the play, I can deal with that because I can get a punch out or a fly out or even ground out. Like, there's a lot of ways. Get the batter out and it's fine. But with nobody out, you take that risk where if you just let that ball drop in front of you, you body the thing up and throw it to second, you've still got a double play in order. You've still got, you know what I mean?
All kinds of stuff in order.
Yeah. And so I'm going to go ahead and check just to see what happens the rest of that inning. So you get the triple. I mean, the next guy doubles. So there's a possibility he scores anyway. And then a hit by pitch. And then, so even if you were able to hold him.
Yeah. And it's tough because you can't even really go by that because Keller doesn't make the same pitches. Most likely.
Sure.
If he's got a runner on first rather than a runner on third.
Yeah.
He's trying to get strikeouts at this point. He's got a runner on first. He's going to, in my opinion, you should be trying to get a ground ball. And if you get to two strikes, go for the strikeout. That's where I'm at.
It was a first pitch cutter, middle top of the zone for the double.
Yeah. You're not going to throw that pitch with a runner on first.
I don't know. I mean, with a runner on, oh yeah, you're going to go for a ground ball. You're not going to be at the top of the zone.
Stay down in the zone instead of the top of the zone.
I mean, that's a bad pitch anyway. An 88.2 mile per hour cutter, middle up.
Yeah, I was just asking for it.
Not a good pitch anyway. But yeah, you're probably going down in the zone a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I mean, you could look at it a bunch of different ways. The thing is, it doesn't matter, right? Because even if it's not a double, if it's a fly ball that's caught, it's a run.
Yeah.
And so you want to try to avoid that risk. Probably a good thing that it happens now. He's got to be able to see those plays, and he has to be able to have film of those plays and what he did and have a memory of them so he can log those in and become better. And I think he's been good. So there was another play in that game too, off the bat of Bobby Witt. Just a bad route, right? Just a terrible route.
Yep. I think he might have got a little bit scared too to dive again. Tried to reach down and shoestring catch it. Did they mark that an error, by the way? Because that's an error.
They did not.
They would have marked it an error if he was at shortstop.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised they didn't the way that they mark him for him. But I'm looking to see. No, it was just a double. I mean, it was a really bad route. It's a really bad route. It's Bobby Witt, though. They want him to have the doubles. Yeah. He's got 43 doubles now. They're trying to get him to 50. So MLB is more inclined to give him a hit than to take one away. As we put on our tinfoil hats.
But yeah, I mean, these are both plays that we want him. I don't want him to make mistakes, right? These are the plays we want him to see. And if it goes wrong, he's going to be checking as to why it went wrong.
Yeah, and that's a big one because you had the double to lead off the inning. And then you had a ground out. And so you have a guy on second. That ends up being a double. The run scores. Because it actually also... I'd be okay giving him a single, but then like as he misses it and has to go back for it. Mm-hmm. Oh, this is interesting. Michael 412 Double Play Podcast says he thinks it was originally ruled an error. They must have went back and changed it.
I mean, if nothing, give him a single with an error.
Yeah, single, he gets the second, or the run scores anyway, but at least he gets the second on the error or something like that. But I don't care. It really doesn't matter in the end. The run's going to score. The guy's going to be at second. The effect is the same. It's not going to change any earned runs or anything like that, which is probably why they just gave him the double. But anyway, you got the next two guys. He doesn't score again, but it's already 5-1. That's how the score ended. So, you know what I mean? Like, these are just plays that it seems to be weird for O'Neal Cruz that they always compile, right? They always compile in a certain, either in a stretch of games or in one game or whatever. He's thinking about one and not the other, you know what I mean? And so, I think maybe that's probably part of it. But it's all learning. We're probably gonna see a couple more. You had the one early on where he tried to make a throw home that we thought, I don't know if you're going to make that throw all the time. You let another guy move up.
Yep.
Once again, it comes down to understanding that there's 2 outs or there's less than 2 outs. There's things you do with 2 outs. There's that you don't do with less than 2 outs to keep a guy at first so that you can keep the double play in order and things like that. Or to keep a guy, maybe not even to keep the double play in order, but to keep a guy out of scoring position. Because if you have a guy at first and there's a base hit, he doesn't score. You know what I mean? He either gets the second or he gets the third, but he doesn't score. And so, a lot of that. Double is what a double is, but you might even prevent a run that way by keeping a guy at first base, depending on who's running. If it's this Garcia dude, he's scoring on a bunt, I feel like. That dude can fly. How many stolen bases sat in Saturday's game? Well, yeah, Garcia had 3. 2 more for Isbell. And 1 for Furman. Furman, the catcher. That's a lot of stolen bases.
Yeah, Keller's he's got to fix that in the off season.
I don't know.
Whatever people have on him.
Is this the first time though that it's been that bad though? You know what I mean? Like, I think most of the time I'd rather you just keep working on getting the hitter out. I know that was a thing in the Pirates in the past. It seemed like every pitcher just got ran on, but we also had terrible catchers. At least that aspect of their game was terrible, right? And so, like, we weren't throwing anybody out anyway. But it was just kind of one of those things where it was like, yeah, but they're just not teaching it. They're not holding runners. They're not. It's all high leg kicks.
Rowdy doesn't even stand close to the base.
I just mean pitchers.
I don't care. I'm going to take on that for 1 second. Like, Rowdy, he's not even close. Like, you can't pick anybody off. You can't reach the base to tag somebody. Like, I have no idea who thought that was a good idea? That's where I should stand. I don't know if it's mobility. I don't know if it's like I need to be able to get into a better position to field a ball rather than hold him on. Like, if that's the case, like, okay, I kind of get it, but maybe just, let's try to figure it out because we have no shot.
Yeah.
And if we have no shot, you don't have a shot to hold the runner on.
Right.
So they're just getting bigger leads and just taking off.
Well, so back to my point, though, is that has nothing to do with the Pirates development team who was doing that back in the Huntington era, which is all new people.
Right.
And also Rowdy didn't come up through them. And anyway.
No, right.
Yeah. Anyway.
That was definitely a side
thing,
but it was still on topic.
I got you.
I'm allowed to have rabbit trails too.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're good at that here. Either one of us can go off, either on a rabbit trail or just a tangent. So now Sunday's game, a little bit different, a little bit good. They were able to come up with the win, but Jared Jones, which is, somehow we got into talking deep about these games, but Jared Jones was the third starter, try to get his game, but he only went 4 innings. Jake, he threw 97 pitches in 4 innings. He gave up 6 hits. He walked 3, struck out 5. But like, it's just the idea that like we weren't efficient. You went into this game thinking, okay, so now we're going to rely on 6 innings. We're going to rely on 5 innings from a bullpen. That's been awesome. So I was nervous the whole game. I actually passed out at one point. By passed out, I mean fell asleep on my couch. But didn't miss much during that. But either way, it was kind of a little bit. I mean, we took a game from a team who's in the playoff picture.
Yeah.
And we lost the series. So kind of what you would expect from a team who's now 71 and 78. So, you know what I mean? Yeah, 71 and 78. I don't really know what you could expect when you think of the big picture of things. Although, I don't know. I had higher hopes, I guess.
Yeah. It is what it is, I guess. I don't know. This is getting a little redundant sometimes. Just I feel like we should have a shot against this team.
13 more. 4 series left. That's it. 4 more chances to win a series, and one of them's a 4-game series on the road, which really means split and you're happy. You know what I mean? Speaking of, that's where we're going. Let's where's our time? We're pretty good. So Matt here, he's got nicknames. Teen Wolf was money in the first. That's his Jones nickname. I can see that.
Yeah.
It's pretty good. Also, he was awesome in the first. And then, from there. So anyway, Cardinals. We're going up to play the Cardinals. We're going to do this real quick here. We'll talk about the pitching matchups, and then we're going to talk about catchers. We're going to talk about the catchers and where we're at and all that stuff and look forward to later, but it's worth it. They're 74 and 75. They've lost 3 straight. Which always kind of sucks. You kind of wish they would have at least won today because, when you're on a losing streak, it's like, well, that's going to stop soon.
Yeah.
So you don't like to see that. It's not going to stop tomorrow because we got Paul Skeens going. Going up against Palante, which I don't remember his first name. Andre Palante. 6-8, 413, blah, blah, blah. Falter and Lynn on Tuesday. We've gotten to Lynn before. We don't know against Sonny Gray. That one doesn't feel good. You hope you can get at least one Monday or Tuesday, and then we don't know versus Luis Ortiz. So I don't know exactly what to say here, but I saw that, Michael. I saw Andre pop in there, and then you took it back out whenever I said his name. Thanks. I appreciate it. But you don't have to retract that message. You can leave it out there and let me know about it. But anyway, you're on the road. You got to take two, right? You know what I'm saying? But I don't know. That's all I got. You got to take two. If you can take three, it takes the pressure off of beating. If you take three and you win this series, you win the season series against the Cardinals, and then you don't have to beat the Brewers or the Yankees. I don't know. That's all I got.
Yeah,
That's all I got. The Cardinals are the Cardinals. Go split and I'll be happy.
Yeah.
Don't blow it.
Don't blow it.
Here's a side tangent for us. Matt asks, sorry to digress, but are you guys as concerned about Holderman as I am?
Not really. I think that our bullpen just needs a reset button at the end of the year. I think Holderman's stuff is still good.
Yeah. I was going to say, I'll ask, reset button like individually, or you want to change the personnel back there?
No, I mean, I want to mix up the personnel back there. Obviously, we're not going to have Chapman next year. At least I would assume we won't.
Right, but are you getting rid of Colin Holderman, Carmen Majinski, David Bednar? Is that the kind of reset button you're talking about, or you're just saying like Colin Holderman needs a reset?
We need
button?
a new season.
Okay,
we need a new season.
All right. I that's why I was asking.
Bullpens are just so touchy, and I don't know. You can have a bad season and come back the next year and be fine.
He had a rough season. He had a rough beginning to the season with the sickness. He came back lights out. I think he probably just got gassed.
Yeah.
But also he's been dealing with something. I can't remember what it is now. I'm sure. Michael, get on me, man. Let me know. What was he dealing with? Was it a wrist thing? Was it I can't remember. I feel like there was something he was dealing with. And we didn't know about it until he came back up and struggled again. And they were like, well, he's still kind of nursing something. But I can't remember what it was. I am concerned a little bit about Holderman, though, I will say, because of the fact that, like, yeah, he's been electric and he's been lights out in certain moments. And even this year, it was like, wow, this is the guy. I remember that, people were saying, why don't we just put him in the closer role? Because Chapman was still struggling. Bednar was still struggling. And he came out with it was like a 172 ERA at some point, and you were just like, well, he's still the dude. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was his wrist. Thank you, Michael. But it could be the wrist, but this guy also is a bit older. He was like a late guy to the league. When we brought him over, he was still 27 years old. You know what I'm saying? It's like, why hasn't he had a fair shake at the major league? So he's a little bit late to the game. So there is a little bit of concern for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There is a little bit of concern.
I just think next year, this year, there was high expectations for our bullpen.
Yeah.
Some of those expectations are gone for going into next year.
Right.
But I think that you're going to see Santana jump into that setup role unless Bednar continues to tip his pitches. I don't know if anybody else saw that. I mean, the video you had me look at was incredible.
Yeah, it was somebody on here who brought it to my attention. And when I was like, man, I missed that, it ended up being it was just released today. So it's not like I missed anything that was there for a long time, but it had just come out that day. But yeah, we did get a chance to see that. But just as much as I'll say Holderman is having a bad year, we could talk about Bucko. Mike says Dennis Santana as closer. He's one of those guys too that I'm like, yeah, I just want to see what you have next year. I mean, we've seen this from guys too. You know what I'm saying? Where it's like a spark where they go up and then you just don't know. So I don't know, man. There's a little bit there. There's a little bit there that I want to see more before. For right now, though, I'm all about Dennis Santana being the closer. I am
for the end of the year.
For the end of the year, yeah, I'm all about it.
Yeah,
but I'm also kind of I'm also kind of in like a situation where I'm like, hey, give me Santana for like, use matchups at this point.
Yeah.
Give me matchups. So yeah, that's Bucko Mike says Homerman in the 6th inning in Indy. I get it. I'll tell you what, when Holderman was nasty, Bucko Mike was on it. He was saying, I don't like him. When he was really good. So, yeah, I got it. So anyway, yeah, I mean, Santana has been a pleasant surprise. And I even said that during that game, Holderman came out, he struggles, he gives up the 3rd run of the game. Santana comes in and gets the last out. And I think I sent a post out there just saying, back in March, if you'd have told me that Santana would get Holderman out of a jam like that, I would have thought it would have been flipped around.
Yeah.
First, you would have had to tell me who Dennis Santana was. The fact that he would have been playing for our team in September, and I'd have been like, yeah, I'm sure that's going to go over well. You know what I mean? Like, that's what it would have been. So, Matt says trade Santana back to the Yankees for Aaron Judge.
If you can pull that trade off,
we're putting a Matt statue out that side that stadium. Right outside the front office, wherever they are. Wherever their offices are, we're like, there's a statue right here. Oh, by the way, you're the new GM.
Yeah.
That's good stuff.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see what we do with the bullpen for next year, but that's next year. We're not focused on next year yet.
That's right. Let's focus on who we have at catcher this year. Okay? Mm-hmm. This is the part of the show where if you haven't been,
Larry comes out and sings a silly song.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I apologize. I would say in advance, but I didn't say it before. I do apologize for that, but it's hilarious.
Anyway, we started this last week. We're just going to take a section of the team, either a position or last week we did the whole rotation. We're going to take a look at where we are right now. We want to do this before we get to the offseason. So when the offseason comes around, we already know who we have, and then we can talk about who we want or what we should do with that position. So just kind of like, just a state of where we are. Grandal, obviously, on the team. We're not going to count him in this because he is a free agent, and it's my guess he will become a free agent and go out there only because the 40-man here has Joey Bart, Henry Davis, Jason DeLay, Andy Rodriguez. All of Davis, Jason DeLay, and Andy Rodriguez will have 2 options for next year. Going into next year, they'll have not only next year's option, but another year after that. Joey Bart does not, but I think Joey Bart has done pretty well in earning at least, a fair share of the starting catcher role for next year.
Yeah.
I think he's done enough. He's under contract. He's only arbitration at this point. So there's a lot of control there. And I think he's kind of found a home here.
Yeah.
Probably like one of those change of scenery guys.
Yeah. It's going to be his to lose.
Yeah, I think
at this point.
I think so. We talked about that a little bit. So this year there's been 66 games caught by Yasmani Grandal. There's been 60 games caught by Joey Bart. Joey Bart has also been a DH 10 times. So he's actually played more games, but 66 and 60 and then 34 games for Henry Davis. That kind of trickles down from there. Yeah. I think it's like 5 for DeLay and a couple for Grant Cook. So like when you look at that and you take a look at what you're saying is like, what they're going to do with the catcher position is not, great timing, Bucko Mike, is not 120 starts at catcher. Like that's just not going to happen. Not in today's baseball, and not in today's baseball when you're Joey Bart, who, let's get real, like has had an incredible season to get to 13 home runs. Around 270. You know what I'm saying? Like, There's not a whole lot there that is, like, it's not like we have Salvador Perez. who has 27 home runs. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's a much different. I'm going to take a look at Salvador Perez's games. Go ahead and run off that.
Sure. I mean, I think I just said it. That it's Bart's job to lose. 120 starts is a lot from a catcher right now.
Yeah.
You're going to have two other guys you're going to want to get some time at catcher. Unless you're planning on moving somebody, you're gonna be passing the catcher role around a little bit. We're not going to carry 3 catchers and have them all catch. We're not going to do that. That's not what I'm saying. But we do have 3 guys that are going to get catching time in the major leagues next year.
Yeah. I mean, I could see of them 4.
Yeah.
Catchers are like that. You know what I'm saying? There were 5 this year. You know, you're going to have guys, you know, whatever. But Matt, just to answer this, Delay has 2 options. He had 1 used this year, and so he has 2 options going into next year. Andy already had 2. He has not had an option used this year. He hasn't had 2 because he's been injured. And then Henry Davis had 3 options. We've optioned him this year, so he still has 2 option years left. So, I mean, you can keep all 3 of these guys for a few more years. But also, Salvador Perez has played 45 games at first base this year. So there's a little bit of that. I mean, you're also talking about a guy who's 34 years old. So there's a little bit of that kind of plays. Probably a bad example. He was just here this weekend. But 84 games at catcher for Sal Perez, 84 games at catcher for Freddie Fermin. They've done it pretty well. Both of them had 2.9 WAR on the season too. So like they've done a pretty good job of mixing that up. But it's essentially 84 and 84. And then if you have a guy who can also play some first base, they've got 103 games of Pasquantino. They've used him at DH a little bit. He's had some injuries that has made Sal Perez play a little more first base as well. So there's been some of that. He's been handling a lot of the first base duties. So, I mean, Joey Bart, yeah, he could see some time at first base, but like he's not hitting 27 home runs. He's not a guy like Sal Perez that you can say, well, yeah, I mean, like he's still good to be a first baseman. I mean, he's got 102 RBIs.
Yeah.
This is not Joey Bart. This is better than what you're going to get from Joey Bart. So even so, like, but there's just a lot of, like Sherrod says, 120 plus starts at catcher, first base, DH. Yes. Maybe. It just depends on who they get for first base and what that position looks like. I'm not sure that you'd be better off putting Bart at first base for any days, unless there's another catcher who, like, Kansas City has Freddie Fermin, who's actually been really good, right? And so you have a bonus there where you have to get that guy into the lineup, where if Henry Davis is hitting like Henry Davis hit this year, he's playing just to give Bart days off. Bart's going to take his days off. Yeah. And you're going to have to find him or Andy or Delay or somebody to actually hit in order to force Bart to ever move to first base. Like, I just don't.
Yeah.
They're going to give him, they're going to find somebody. Where was it? I don't know. I guess right here. Bucko Mike says to catch Skeens.
Yeah, saying to re-up
Grandal. Oh, yeah. Re-up Grandal to catch Skeens.
If we re-up Grandal, then we're not trying.
Yeah, I hate that. I understand what you're saying, but yeah.
He's passing on
if he only catches
Skeens,
Skeens, he's also been a very good hitter in Skeens' starts too. So you know what I mean?
It's a waste of a roster spot.
And I agree that you don't bring him back. You don't go that route. But I'm saying if you're thinking that Joey Bart can handle 4 of the games and get a day off, or maybe, a random start, but like he catches, I don't know. You'd have to really not believe in Henry Davis at that point.
Yeah.
But I will go back to I just don't see Joey Bart really handling a lot of or getting a lot of first base. I don't see that as an opportunity.
Yeah.
I understand it, but
I think what he's done this year, he's earned. I don't like saying he's earned X amount of starts for the following year because he's got to do it again next year.
Right, he's got to prove it again.
You got to keep playing well to get to those starts. I mean, yes, you've deserved first shot at the bulk catcher role. You've deserved first shot. It's yours to lose. He can lose it and not get 100 starts.
Yeah. Matt brings up a point here that says he thinks Bart's extrapolated RBIs is 100 plus for 500 at bats. The thing is he hasn't got 500 at bats. And he's been here most of the year. Like I was just telling Jake, our first homestand, he was there. Yes, not saying he can sustain. You're 100%. Like I understand you. It's good to put that out there, and I'm not doubting what you're saying. Like he's done what he's done, and so you know what I mean. It's good to call these numbers out. But the thing is, he has been here, so there's a little bit of that saying like I don't know if Bart can get 500 at bats. I don't know if it's the way they're going to use him or the fact that he was hurt for a while or, you know what I mean? Like it took him a while to kind of, well, it didn't take him a while. Like we were there for his first game. Like I said, it was the first weekend it was first homestand of the year.
Yeah.
And so he's been here the majority of the year and that's equaled 70 starts, 60 of them at catcher, some time on the IL, you know what I'm saying? And it's 13 home runs. It's, you know, whatever the RBIs are. It's
not to downplay that because I mean I'll take 13 home runs, 270 from my catcher.
43, yeah. Oh,
don't get me wrong.
So yeah, 266. This is Baseball Reference. So going into today, but that's a 130 OPS plus. So like, yeah, I'm totally in, and that's what I'm saying. Like I'm still giving you like he's the starter unless he comes into spring and stinks. But he's got the nod to come in and he's earned that. But I see that being, 90 games as the starter. I see that being, 80 to 90 games at catcher, maybe bumping that up if he does get some days at DH, if he does get some days at first base, if that even happens, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But he's definitely a guy. And then Davis is going to have to earn some things because
for sure.
He's not had a great year. They're going to give him a chance. He's a 1-1. When you're a 1-1, you get the chances. And he just started playing games again. He's catching. He's caught, I think, 2 or 3 games now, 4 innings, 5 innings, whatever it's been. So something just happened upstairs. I don't know if you could hear that, but something.
I did hear it.
Yeah, I don't know if it was just something as simple as a phone being dropped, but wasn't loud enough to be a child, so we're okay.
Yeah.
And then Jason DeLay, I think, is depth. And I think that's what it'll continue to be.
Yeah. He's solid depth, too.
Solid depth. It's better than bringing up Grant Cook for 2 games. And you know what I'm saying? Like, or for a handful of games if he has to. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm with you there. I think that I think those 4 guys, I don't know. Bucko Mike would rather start a blindfolded Uncle Jake at catcher over Bus Davis. You caught once, right?
I caught multiple games.
2?
I caught like 12 games in high school and 1 or 2 in college. But the college games were like JV, where we had 3 games in one day, and they're like, we're not catching our varsity guy. Who wants to catch? Do I get the hit? I'll do it.
You had a lot of convincing in college just to get in the lineup, right? Because they wanted you as a reliever, and you wanted to hit.
I just wanted to hit.
Yeah.
I told him all the time, I said, I'm a better hitter than I am a pitcher, right? Just keep rolling me out there in the bullpen. All right.
Yeah. Yep. Sherrod says DeLay can be is someone that can be a serviceable backup in the majors. Keep him in Indy and bring him up when he's needed. 100%. I agree with that.
Yep.
I agree with that. I think we're
on the same page there.
Yep. Non 40-man guys. Carter Binns is in AAA. Has not been good since he's really been brought here. Abraham Gutierrez, he's in AA. Both of those guys are Rule 5 eligible, but they've been Rule 5 eligible in years past, which means they haven't been added. They haven't been drafted. They're not going to be. Yeah. But Gutierrez has only played in 50 games, and he hasn't hit a single home run. So, and the only reason I say that is I think he had like 12 in the last year, and then in spring training he had a couple, I believe. So just for the fact that he did that. There are a couple young catchers that are kind of interesting in the system. These guys aren't guys for 2025, but we're talking about the whole thing, like where we are right now, right? Mm-hmm. Omar Alfonso was in Greensboro, 20 years old, 138 weighted runs created plus in Greensboro. It's 5 home runs, but he had 247 with a 371 on base and a 457 slugging. So somebody to watch there, Alfonso. And then Axial Plaz in A-ball. I think this is the kid we saw. I think
so too.
This is the guy that we're saying that's what we saw, even if it's not, because nobody will be able to know ever. They had T-shirts on. Anyway, 18 years old, hit 15 homers in Bradenton this year, 207 average with 302 on base. But like, hey, there's something to work with there. Right. 18 years old, you had 15 homers in A-ball. You know, I'm paying attention.
Yeah.
And if it is the dude that we saw, he also has a cannon.
Little erratic, but
I know you say that every time, but I'm just like, he threw 2 away, but the rest of them were seeds right on the money. Like, I'm going to allow him to throw a couple away and not think that he's erratic. Yeah. I don't know.
Threw 2 out of 7 away.
Yeah, it might have been more than that. Or it might have been more throws.
They didn't throw a ton.
Yeah, but they were...
Doesn't matter. It was a cannon.
Yeah, they were rifles.
Yeah.
Very good arms. So, yeah. No, pretty good. Do you feel good about the catcher position moving into the offseason, Jake? Do you feel... you feel good about there's guys on the roster, right? But you feel good about the position in general going into the offseason and saying, this is something we need to address, or this is not. And anybody that's in the chat right now too, you think you stay put, or do you think you address it and go get somebody?
I feel a lot better about the catching situation than I have in years past. That's for sure.
Kind of excited about it moving into this season though. Because we were excited about, we were excited about Davis and Henry.
Yeah.
Davis and Andy. We were excited about the two of them. And then, of course, Andy goes down with the injury. But prior to that, we were like, yeah, we got these two guys. We're going to catch them both. It's going to be great. And now you're almost nervous
but I'm saying, like, the year before that, it was the year we had to address the catching situation because it was so bad.
Yeah.
Right?
Last year was Austin Hedges.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's Austin Hedges. So let me see who all caught games for us. It was 68 games from Jason DeLay. With an even 0 WAR. Like, that's exactly what he is. 65 games at catcher from Hedges. 52 games at catcher from Andy Rodriguez. And then Heinerman, and 2 games from Henry Davis. We know he was out in right field goofing off. But it was one of those things where we were like, oh, well, we can do Henry going forward, and you know what I mean, and Andy going forward, and it was exciting, and you can say it. I guess I didn't realize it was 52 games.
Yeah, that kind of surprised me.
From Andy at catcher. That's a little bit surprising. And he really, the whole reason is like that I brought it up is like, there wasn't a lot of good there. 3 homers, a 66 OPS plus, like there wasn't a lot of good there.
Yeah.
It was the year before that, Jason DeLay, I think, took the lion's share as well. 57 games, Heinerman 50 games, Michael Perez, Roberto Perez at 20 games. Andrew Knapp, Jose Godoy, Zach Collins, and then of course Josh Van Meter. Of course. So yeah, it's been a tough spot for quite a while.
Yeah.
Joey Bart's been a big surprise, right?
Yeah. Hometown kid though. Bring him home. Played well. I just had that up.
Oh, did you? I was looking at the stats. Matt, you get 2 of them up there for the goofing off laugh. That's pretty good. Sherrod asks, do you see any of these catchers playing anything other than catcher? I don't know. It just really depends on first base is really it. And it depends on what they do.
It depends on if they're hitting.
Right. If they force their way into the lineup, you could see some of them maybe find a way to play some first base. I know that Endy's taking some stuff at second. I don't care. It's going to have to be some wild things to happen, I think, before you want to plug him in at second. Just understanding that, like, you've got Nick Gonzalez there right now. You could have Peguero there. You could have Triolo there. You could have IKF there. You could have Ilika there. I think all those guys are going to get a shot at second base before you get to Endy. And so that's why I say, shoot, you might even see Billy Cook end up there before you get to Endy. You know what I mean? I just think that's where it's at right now. I think they'll focus on catching and days off. You might see some first base if you find that some of those guys are hitting and whatever we end up doing at first base isn't good enough.
Yeah, and I think if you end up throwing one of these guys at first base, I almost feel like it's another cop out to not sign somebody.
No, I mean, I don't mean that they would just say, well, that's our first baseman. I mean, just whatever we have going on at first base, they would have to not be good. Like, even if it's like they brought back Rowdy. So, like, what would be your scenario where you would have any of these catchers play first base? It would have to be Rowdy's injured, Billy Cook's not getting it done. If Connor Joe's still there, he's not getting it done. So, like, there's some layers to it. Or those guys are hitting so much. Let's say it's Henry. Those guys are hitting so much, there's a lefty on the mound. Instead of it being a Connor Joe or a Billy Cook at first base, it ends up being a Henry at first base. But I don't know if Henry's a good example there, because I feel like he spent so much time working on a catcher that as soon as he worked on something else, he can't hit. And then, you know what I'm saying? And he worked on it all off season. They said, wow, he's made really good strides. Then he came into the year and he couldn't hit again. Yeah. Once the teams found out all he was doing was pulling breaking pitches, he couldn't hit a fastball. Even in the spring, he couldn't hit a fastball. They just weren't throwing him fastballs all the time. You remember that?
Yeah.
Like when we went back and looked, we were like, holy crap, he couldn't hit a fastball in the spring training either. So anyway. All right, man. Let's wrap this thing up. That's what we got. That's our catcher position. By the way, my opinion is I think they'll stay put. I think it's Bart. I think it's a combination of the other three. I think they'll stay put. You may see them sign some depth, which we'll all roll our eyes at and say, this is where we're shopping in the stores when we go sign Danny Jansen would probably get a major league deal, but there'll be some guy that they'll sign to a minor league deal and we'll all be like, really, this is what we're thinking about? But like, it's kind of needed, because or else you're looking at Grant Cook. When you go to that next layer of depth, right? You're looking at a Grant Cook, you're looking at a Carter Binns, and there's just not a lot of answers there. So that's all. I guess we got time for one more here. If Henry is on Bart's timeline, do we keep him? Because I think that's a really good one. I know that's not, this year what we're talking about, but Bart was, he was around in San Francisco for a while and was not working. And we went through this little trade, and he comes here and he's essentially like some of what they expected there. Right?
Yeah. It's tricky because what happened with Bart? He changed scenery. Was that what did it, or was it time? You know what I mean? Like, some of these guys, you try to wait them out, and they just never become what they were, and then you get rid of them, and it's all of a sudden,
yeah.
he goes. And so it's tough. It's tough to tell. I just hope he just figures it out sooner.
Right. Yeah, I mean, he's a first round pick. And so that's exactly what we're looking at with Henry Davis. He's going to get the same sort of treatment as Henry Davis. And what happened this year was they went into the season and he had all his options used. And they basically were like, we gotta move you. We're going to send you down. That puts you on waivers. They worked out a trade. That was the answer.
Mm-hmm.
So Henry Davis has, after this season, he'll have 2 options left. Right? So if he gets optioned next year, he'll have 1 left. If he gets optioned in 26, that will be his last option. So I guess the answer to the question is 2027. If he doesn't work out by 2027, that's when you move him. Because he's going to keep getting optioned, but in 2027, in the spring of 2027, he will not be able to be optioned without going on waivers. That's when the Pirates move on him.
Yeah.
That's probably it. He'll probably get all of the opportunities for 25 and 26. In 27, they will not be able to send him down without passing him through waivers. If he still isn't working, that's when he moves to another team, and we'll see if it clicks somewhere else. And if you've gone down that path, right, of 3-4 seasons, because it ends up being 4 because you don't have the options in the first year and all that stuff. So of the 4 seasons, if it's still not working, there's a lot of struggle involved with it. There's a lot of, you tried me in right field. There's a lot of, I finally became a good catcher and I couldn't hit anymore. And there's a lot of, maybe first base becomes an option at some point to see if there's anything that can click. Maybe, because you can think about it. You can maybe say like, hey, maybe if you don't spend so much time being a good catcher, it takes less to be a good first baseman. Still hard work, but less to be a good first baseman. You're not talking about, you're not calling games. You're not, you know what I mean? There's a lot of elements. You're fielding balls. You're, doing the regular position stuff, but the catcher is very involved.
Mm-hmm.
And so I could see something like that where you say like, we're moving you so that you don't have to do that. So if there's all those things involved and nothing ever works, then yeah, change of scenery sometimes is good because you go somewhere else and it's fresh.
Yeah.
That's probably exactly what's going on with Joey Bart.
Yep.
And you hope he can keep it going.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep. And you hope you can keep it going for Henry too. As Matt says, fingers crossed for Henry. Mike, we're going to talk about this probably either in our first base or our outfield conversation. We'll be talking about this very thing Mike brings up about Billy Cook and Connor Joe. So whenever we get to those positions, we'll be covering that. So let me check my timeline to see what we'll be talking about on Thursday. You're in Thursday, right?
Yes.
Thursday is center field. So
well, me and Coach,
we'll be talking center field, and then corner outfield will be the one after that. So maybe we'll do some Billy Cook, Connor Joe conversations next Sunday. So
dig it.
Go beat the Cardinals.
Yeah. Ditto.
Let's go Bucs.
Let's go Bucs.
Thanks for listening to my dad and Uncle Jake on the Bridge to Buctober podcast. Follow them on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Bridge2Buctober. Don't forget to subscribe so you know when new episodes are released. Clear the deck, cannonball coming, and let's go Bucs.